Well, Tuesdays was quite a year, wasn't it?
It was awesome.
Yeah. You know, and you look back on it and you say, you know, where did this all begin and how did it come from? And people are always saying Tuesdays. What is Tuesdays? And you know, the whole idea of like where did it begin?
Well, like a lot of our best project, it started in the basement, and the day or two before we were going to start 366, that just didn't feel right to us, and we, as a team, came up with the idea of, instead of shooting a picture every day, shooting one day, all day from sunrise to sunset. And we initially were thinking we might travel all over, but we quickly decided that we should just shoot in Michigan. And so kind of the two rules we decided to live by were every photo should be shot on a Tuesday and every photo should be shot in Michigan somewhere, anywhere in Michigan.
Right, and I recall debating which day to do, and it very quickly became obvious that Tuesday was the best day because that is the slowest day in the gallery. It's also the slowest day out there in Michigan as we're going out there and looking for those pictures. We like some people in images sometimes, but we didn't want to be fighting crowds on the lakeshore, the lighthouses, or on woodland trails, and we also logistically, in terms of just travel and restaurants and lodging and everything else, a weekday was going to be slower. Tuesday would be the best day to do it, and the best day to be away from our business, which is so busy.
Yeah, Tuesdays with Todd and Brad Reed just sounds good, and I think that was a good choice we made, especially like at Mackinac Island and stuff. We had that island to ourselves, and if we'd gone on a Saturday, it would have been packed. So Tuesdays definitely worked out. And the beauty is, if the project's successful, we got 6 more days of the week we could do this project. So pretty exciting.
Right. Well, I'd like to think I have the energy left for another year of this, but we're definitely going to take a year off and let people know a lot more about this project and about our new book.
So of the whole year, 52 Tuesdays, what is your favorite memory of the whole project, if there was just one?
I think probably my favorite memory was definitely standing on top of the Lake of the Clouds, seeing the absolute peak of the Michigan fall color, changing from almost absolute peak the evening before when we scouted it out to absolute peak that morning as the sun rose and we could start to see the color, and just saw that it was just absolutely exquisite. That for me, it was a place I'd never been. We were on top of a mountain escarpment, and you don't so much think about that in Michigan, and you're actually looking down on a world of millions of treetops all in fall color. That probably was the highlight of the project for me.
Cool. Well, for me, it was definitely shooting tubular with the underwater housing that Paul and Debbie Chase let us borrow for our D7000s. And I have my whole life dreamed of shooting in the water, and you know, I got really close, but I could never get the camera underwater, and finally I was able to. And you know, I went out in June. The undertow was pretty severe, but with the rope and the life jacket, I felt secure. I was able to get pummeled pretty good, but I got the breakers that I needed to shoot this shot. And I'll never forget looking back on shore as I'm doing this, and you laughing your butt off as I'm getting hammered and tossed around like a tinker toy in Lake Michigan. I
was the one being entertained, and of course I wanted to bring that experiential aspect because we had these 3 goals for the project: to be entertaining and to be experiential and to be educational, and people sure got an education in what you go through to get some of your images, and sometimes what I go through, but you're the guy with that underwater camera. I was the guy laughing and trying to hold the camera still at the same time to capture those moments of you getting hammered. So that was pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah.
So that was your favorite picture of the project?
This one, it's a really close second with the cover of the book, the Northern Lights, with the North Star at Little Point Sable. And the lights were just so good that night. And I'd always wanted to get a picture with the North Star above a lighthouse. And I'd always wanted to get Big and Little Sable with the Northern Lights, and the previous year I had gotten Big Sable, and then finally in 2012, I think it was in April, I don't remember which Tuesday, maybe the 12th Tuesday, I was able to get the Northern Lights at Little Point Sable. That 32-minute exposure, because the cable on my camera wasn't working. Remember, I sat there with my finger on the shutter button for 32 minutes holding that and used my iPhone as the timer, and I used my nose to start my timer on my iPhone, and playing music, changing music with my nose. But I sat there for 32 minutes holding that camera still on the tripod to get that shot. That's a close second for me, something I'll never forget.
I think possibly my favorite single image of the year was shooting steelhead fishermen in a snowstorm on the Pimlico River. It was the hardest, heaviest, quickest, just piling up snow that I'd ever experienced in my life, and I've been a Michigander all my life. And Chris Uber Rains is out there fishing, and the dog named Orvis is sitting on the bank, wanting in that river so bad, but well trained and sitting there patiently, and the snow is piling up on his back, and I'm trying to get this image, and the fisherman's covered with snow, and the dog's covered with snow, and it was just so magical and so poetic, and people are really moved by that image, and that means a lot to me, because to me it's a really good example of photojournalism,
But yeah, I love that. Was a great day, and that was the day I realized our Nikon D7000s were built a little tougher than I thought they were, because remember in the morning it was raining, and then it kind of cleared up, and we shot the cattails, and then it snowed. And that was the wettest, heaviest snow, and
yeah, you just couldn't keep it. Was turning to water so quickly, and you couldn't keep it off the camera or the lenses, and despite all that, we made some really good images. So.
And then that evening, that day was fun because you saw how quickly weather changes in Michigan. Because remember that night, then we shot the full gale blizzard on Lake Michigan with the Ludington Lighthouse. And
yeah.
From the city beach, you could not see the lighthouse sometimes. And,
absolutely.
And holding that big 600 millimeter lens still on a tripod was near impossible. And that was a fun day.
Yeah.
So weren't we sure lucky to have so many awesome natural phenomena happen on a Tuesday this year?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were really blessed. We had the Venus solar transfer. It won't happen again for another 108 years. And that's where Venus crossed the path of the sun. My description of it, again, looks like Cindy Crawford's beauty mark on the sun.
Or Nikki Taylor, yeah.
And you helped me with that image. We kind of actually teamed up. It's my image, but you assisted, and we worked hard to get that image. We were at Big Sable Lighthouse. We had put on a free workshop for people that night, and we just stayed there, and we nailed that picture, and that was really exciting. And we had so many other great nights.
Yeah, we had the Northern Lights 3 times on Tuesdays, twice. They were exceptional. And one in the spring and one in the fall that were just out of this world awesome. And we were able to get out and still get those images on a Tuesday, so that was fun.
Of course, your spring one includes the image that was the cover of the book with the North Star and the Little Sable Lighthouse and the path of the stars in your 32-minute exposure. But I also love the one of the beach house at Ludington State Park. Everybody loves that beach house, and very famous structure, and you have it with the Northern Lights over the top of it. It's pretty phenomenal. I also remember you waking me up. It's like 2 in the morning, and I get this phone call, and I'm delirious, and it's you, and hurry up, get out there, the Northern Lights are out. And I scrambled out the door and out the pier, and I am hustling because the Northern Lights are just fabulous. And I get, I go like almost a half a mile and plant that tripod, and I do what's going to be a test shot, and I make the first shot, and before I can make the second shot, the lights were just not near as good. And luckily, my test shot was almost a perfect exposure. It wasn't exactly, but it really made a good image. And I was just so glad that you got me out of bed with your perseverance and your inability to sleep, because you just knew.
Well, the dream that the Northern Lights were out is what woke me up.
Yeah.
And then I saw on Facebook from wheezy that the Northern Lights were actually out. But if it hadn't been for that dream, we would have never got any of those images.
Absolutely. And speaking of wheezy, that's Louise Olson down at Silver Lake, and she's drove the Macwoods dune scooters for I think 28 years or something. She's just one of our best photography friends, and we had so many photography friends and other friends assist us on this project and give us tips, and people in Michigan just being so cooperative and wanting their areas showcased and doing anything they could to help us.
And like 365, this project would have never been able to happen without the power of Facebook. And we got so many tips off of Facebook from people.
Right.
And our fans, our customers, our friends.
Right. People telling us who knew somebody who would know how the fall color was peaking at the Lake of the Clouds, or just on and on how those tips came through. That was really, really great. But yeah, we just had you think about it, on Tuesdays there's 7 days of a week. We photographed only one, and we photographed hard on those Tuesdays. I mean, it was physically and emotionally draining. It was so challenging, and there was so much work went into it, and over 30,000 miles of driving, and that doesn't include the hiking and the rowing and the boating and everything else we did, and yet Tuesdays delivered for us, because the truth of it is, whether it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever day of the week it was, Michigan is good any day, in any weather. You were talking about the weather.
Right. With this project, as it went on and we were advertising we were going to do a book, the pressure starts to mount. So, we're out there and the weather's, gloomy, lousy. The pressure's on. We have to get book quality images, and you can't let that pressure take over. You have to control your destiny, and you have to kind of become like Michael Jordan. And, we both view photography like an action sport. And, when Michael Jordan is down, that's when he's at his best. And I think some of our very best images were on days where the light or the weather was maybe a C, but we were producing A+ images. And on some days, it was just easy to produce A+ images because the weather was, like it is so often in Michigan, just glorious, magic light. It's raining, but the sun is out, huge rainbows. Some of the things that are more unique to Michigan than anywhere in the country.
Yeah, and you think of days where we had great light and then great storms, like being at Superstorm Sandy and being in the face of, it was very easy to get very powerful image, because we are good at what we do, and once we have that in front of us, we know how to capitalize on it, or being at the Sleeping Bear Dunes Stocking Drive overlook, 450 feet in the air, with this massive front coming in on us, and the sky is spectacular, the sea is spectacular, the light's spectacular, and this cloud is coming at us, and the video and stills that we shot there were really just so powerful, and that was, in a sense, easier. But the truth of it is, you've got to be there when it's great, and we understand weather, and we understand patterns and weather patterns, and so we kind of made a lot of our own luck, and dress for success, so we could stay out there all day at Superstorm Sandy and be in many ports, from Grand Haven to South Haven to St. Joe, and back to South Haven and back to Grand Haven, and chasing the storm. It was really great. But then there were those days that were gray days, that a lot of people would call gray days. But even a gray day, or as my Aunt Carol would call a silver day in Michigan, there is so much beauty out there, and it's just less obvious. And you just have to show people the beauty. And I think that's a lot of what we're trying to do with our project when we talk about educating. We're all Michiganders, and so many of us love this state, and I think our photography has always showed people who even live here all the time what our area looks like. And now we've gone out and photographed all over Michigan and shown ourselves, and hopefully showing other people, and this book and this DVDs will sustain through time, and they will actually show people and make people feel more strongly about what it is we have here in Michigan as far as the beauty, don't you think?
Yeah, totally. Not taking it for advantage, or taking advantage of the state.
Taking it for granted.
Yeah, taking it for granted. And, I'm totally guilty of that. And with this project, what was so cool was we got to see a lot of part of the state for the first time. I had heard of the Lake of the Clouds and the Porcupine Mountains, but I didn't even know where they were. And having to rely on Google and get out the map, sitting at the computer and say, hey, this looks like a good part of the state we should check out, and doing some research, and then Google Images, seeing other images of the Lake of the Clouds, and yeah, we gotta go here. And we go there, and it's one of the best views in America. And it's totally undiscovered.
Right.
I mean, so few people, even Michiganders, know what that view looks like, and it's extremely accessible. And it's a 100-yard walk. I think it's probably even wheelchair accessible. And we had never taken the time to do it. So Tuesdays forced us to get out of our comfort zone, explore new areas, and enjoy the state. And we kind of got to be tourists in our own state.
Right.
And that was awesome.
But, no mistake in it, we were sometimes in a tourist mode or just in a state of wonderment, whether we were over at Alpena, over the top of shipwrecks, or climbing Presqu'île Lighthouse over there, or wherever we were. I mean, we were just savoring these new experiences. But, also, there was tough things, and it was work, and we worked hard at it. And many times we're exhausted, and yet because we're, budgets are limited, and many times we drove home and get home in the middle of the night because we've been shooting till dark or more. So a lot of prices to pay, along the way. I think you had a couple experiences, being sick and still sucking it up and getting out.
Yeah, I think week 5 had the flu, and you drove me around. We drove all the way to Holland that morning to shoot, and it was horrible. There was no ice. It was just gray, rain. We didn't even get out of the car, and we took back roads, and we ended up by Walkerville, and I made one of my very best images of the whole project with that old abandoned house, shot it in black and white, and 5 minutes before that I got sick, but if I had not had the Tuesdays project motivate me, I would have been laying on the couch the whole day. But we got out, and we got out there and got those images, and I'm thankful for our customers and our fans that they kind of motivate us and keep us going on those days where, you just want to stay home and sleep on the couch because you've got the flu, but you get out there and you do it.
Absolutely. We had days like that. And I recall one day when we had made a great circle tour throughout northeast Michigan and northern Michigan, and I think could have been the day that we went to the Heartwood Pines, and had so many great experiences. And then that evening, I remember we went to have a nice dinner in Petoskey, and I was just ill, and I just went back to the car. I didn't even finish my dinner, and then then you came out, and then we drove back along the shoreline, and man, it was just this fantastic sunset. And I forced myself out of the car, and you were way out on these rocks making a nice image, and I just eventually made my way out there, and I actually made a nice image of you. Well, that was probably my favorite image I made that evening. But we persevered, kept on keeping on, because there's only one Tuesday each week.
Right. And with this project being our own project and self-financed, we had to get images no matter what the cost. So we went flying. I went up with Dave and Ryan Johnson 4 different times during the year in their little airplane here out of the Mason County Aviation. And it may not have been the most ideal day to go some of those Tuesdays, but we had to do it because we needed aerial shots. And as it turned out, because they're such skilled pilots, and the more we did it, we figured out how to team up together better, and I could tell them where to get me. And Sarah got me the skydiving goggles so I could stick my head out of the airplane and actually see what I was doing. And those are some of my favorite Tuesdays of the whole project. And it was crazy expensive, but it's already paid for itself in the canvases we've sold of those aerial photos.
That brings to mind to me that, sometimes we were together on many of our Tuesdays, and we made our expeditions together, whether they were afar or whether they were in the area around here somewhere. But there were many Tuesdays where we just went totally opposite directions. And I think one of my most memorable of those is I go over to the Detroit area, and I end up at Kensington Nature Preserve between Brighton and Milford on the way to Detroit. And I start zeroing in on this wildlife, and I am just really having a good morning. And it's a Tuesday, and I've got the place to myself. I mean, I've encountered probably 4 people all the half day or more I was there. And I'm making these great images. And, the next thing you know, I'm back in the car, and boom, on my cell phone comes this picture of this double rainbow that you've shot over near between Ludington and Scottville, Michigan, out in the farmland. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing, And I have to say I'm a little envious looking at that picture. But then I said, well, I feel good about the images I got, and I got over near, I don't know, Spenville or where, and anyway, I turned south and down towards Williamston, and I'm out in these farmlands, and they're just gorgeous, and it's harvest time, and all of a sudden I find this gigantic field, and along the side of the road is this brand new, beautiful red cab stainless steel semi, and out in the field are 2 brand new gigantic combines. Happen to be John Deere for those that like John Deere. Those that don't, sorry. But they're probably multi-million-dollar investment right there, and they are hard at work harvesting. And I just made this really nice image. It's really one of my favorite country images of the year that I made. And then the clouds are great, and I'm making various images and work my way to, as your suggestion, you stayed in Ludington and shot a fabulous sunset here, and I worked my way over to Grand Haven, and the sunset there was spectacular. We ran into some of our other photography friends there, and it, was just amazing what Michigan could offer in different places on the same day. And by us splitting up, we were able to showcase very different things. That was exciting, and it paid off.
And half of the Tuesdays we were together, half of them we were in our own vehicles. The advantage of being together was we had a navigator who could get on the phone and on the internet and look at the maps and direct us down those country roads or highways or byways we'd never been on, and explore parts of the state we hadn't been, which is much harder to do if you're driving by yourself in your own vehicle. So it was fun teaming up, and then it's always fun when we go out and shoot together, and we have the objective of not getting in each other's photos sometimes, but we also kind of have that competition, who's going to get the better photo at this spot, and it drives us both to work a little extra harder, to think a little bit more out of the box. And I think a good example of that was the day we went to Presque Isle Light, and as we're driving up, you envisioned that shot of the American flag on the porch and had that. And I imagined the shot from the top shooting around that point of land and kind of using that as spherical perspective. Even though neither of us had been to that spot, as we were driving up, we were already envisioning the final image on the wall.
And what the vantage point needed to be to get that, even though we weren't at that spot.
Right.
You're right.
And I think this project, like 365, but even to the next level, that spherical perspective where we could be standing in one spot and imagine what it would look like over here, or standing here, what it would look like up over here at this direction, and what lens we would need. We got so much better and so much more efficient and faster at that. And we had to shoot less and got more winners every time. And again, the pressure's on. We need to produce these images, and efficiency is so important. And with practice and good practice, we got a lot better as photographers as this year went on.
And because we do tackle things, approach things differently, see things differently, and we're very quick to split up and do our own thing, that Presque Isle was a good example of a good photojournalistic photo story, in that we ended up using, let's say, 5 or 6 images from there, and they were completely different from each other, and they were all important to the story and added to the story and the experience of what it's like to be picturesque light and in that region.
And that's another good example of a Michigander hearing our story that we met that day. Remember the lighthouse keeper lady? We explained to her what we were doing. She got all excited, and she stayed an extra 45 minutes past her normal closing time so that we could get the images we needed to get. We had that just time and time again the whole year. Out of the 52 Tuesdays, probably every single one of those Tuesdays we encountered somebody that lived in Michigan or that was visiting that went out of their way to help us succeed in our project and made the project better. That's kind of why we decided when we designed the book last month to dedicate the book to all Michiganders, because we couldn't have done it without so many people's help.
Yeah, and whenever we had somebody in a scene that was close to camera, recognizable, whatever, or doing something very interesting, and we asked them if we could include them in the project, no one ever said no. Not one person all year long ever said, no, I prefer not, or no, get out of here, or whatever. I mean, people were just so anxious to, not so much in sort of a selfish way or personal way or ego way to be included in the project, but they're proud of Michigan and they wanted to be part of showcasing what it is we have in Michigan.
And, the truth of the matter is Michigan has kind of been beat up in the media with the fall of the auto industry in '08 and the housing and different things. And as Michiganders, that's hard to hear. And another part of, Michigan is East Michigan gets so much of the attention, and a lot of people in the country, that's all they envision when they hear of Michigan. And we have one of the most beautiful, diverse, culturally rich states, and the Tuesdays Project really allowed us to kind of exploit that, explore it and exploit it and share it with the world and get that message out. And with the help of Pure Michigan and other campaigns, including ours, people are finally realizing what we have in our state. I think one thing people don't realize about the Tuesdays Project is how much more work it was than the 365 Project. People assume with the 365, where we shot a photo every day, that was so much more work, but what they don't realize with the Tuesdays Project was that not only on Tuesdays were we shooting from sunrise to sunset and having to get on location before and after, lots of 18-hour plus days, that the real work then started on Wednesday, downloading all the images and editing through them and picking which ones we wanted. And then we had to write captions for the ones we chose. We had to tone all those images, change the file names, get all the still images correct. Once we got that done, then we had to edit all the video, weed through it, and then write and produce a video script that we could turn over to Sarah so that she could take that in Final Cut Pro and make a movie out of it. And then once we had the movie produced and finished, all of that information, all those videos and stills had to get put up on our blog, our website, and Facebook. And a lot of times Team Reed didn't finish all of that work until Monday night. Then you wake up Tuesday and start it all over again. We did that for 52 weeks straight.
Yeah, and Team Reed was, as you're saying, a lot more than you and I. It was you and I. It was Sarah Jensen, our manager, Rachel Gaudet, our assistant manager. It was Liz Collier and Shelby Silveraski and Leah Massey and Tessa Reichel and
Claire Paxton.
And they all did so much to keep Team Reed going and keep our business thriving while we were trying to also put together this project. So very intense times and so much more work, as you said, than the 365. Especially because of the addition of video, which we had never done. And you talked about how Sarah Jensen, how she learned Final Cut Pro, which is what Hollywood movie makers use to make movies. And most people go to school to learn it, and she learned it quickly and put it to work, and then also trained Rachel in that. And that was just invaluable to us, being able to produce the blogs and produce this whole project with the discs and all.
Yeah, and the project, it kind of evolved, and the more it evolved, the more work it became. And I think the girls started to hate me for the ideas that I had, and then, we'd bounce ideas off of each other and then pass that on. And we were already up to our ears with the project and shooting, but then it also was our busiest sales year of the whole year in the gallery. You know, we sold more prints and canvases and books and other things out of here, and we had to do all of that on top of this.
Right. So, you know, we bit off almost more than we could chew, almost. And so we won't be shooting a project, you know, right away. We're going to be busy marketing this project and showcasing this project to people all over Michigan and hopefully all over America. People can appreciate this fantastic state we have.
Well, what's neat about the Tuesdays book is that this book will be able to sell all over the state of Michigan, and even maybe in Chicago and Toledo and some neighboring cities, because it does showcase the entire state. It isn't just the point-to-point region that our books in the past have covered. It's the whole state, so it's much more marketable. And we've already done several photo talks and things in different cities in Michigan, and hopefully, you know, this year we'll do more. But it's good for our business, and it's good for the state of Michigan. It's kind of a win-win. We help promote the state, and hopefully more people will move here, visit here, hopefully even bring in some industry.
Yeah, and I think the thing about this project is a lot of people have done Michigan, we'll call them Michigan books or Michigan pictorial books. I don't think there's ever been a book this comprehensive, this much focused on the widespread, diverse natural beauty of Michigan, from the most, what we might call the most known places to the most unknown places, and done it in such a diverse and comprehensive sort of way in all seasons, in all weather, that really, really just makes you as a Michigander want to be even more in love with your state, or as a non-Michigander, make you want to come here more often, or perhaps even come here for the first time, because when you see the whole of these 1,014 images, you just can't help but be blown away by Michigan. You know, so that's a pretty cool feeling to hopefully have contributed to our state in a way to have given back. You know, a lot of people who talk about taking pictures. I mean, we're making pictures, and we are trying to give back to what we do.
And I hope the one word people think of when they think of our images is feeling, and I think this book is full of feeling. Good photography is all about feeling and emotion, and when you look at an image, it's two-dimensional, but you know, we really try to make our photos experiential, and when somebody looks at them, we want them to feel like they're really there, experiencing it. They can smell it, taste it, hear it, touch it. You know, all of the emotions are triggering, and I think this book is full of images like that, and I hope, you know, people really appreciate that, and with our customers, I just can't thank them enough for supporting us over the years and allowing us to do what we do best, which is, you know, capture the natural beauty of our state.
Yeah, with feeling, and I think if someone was to say, what would be a one-word description of how would you describe what you are hoping that this book would be for people about Michigan, and my answer would be moving, that it would move them, that it would warm their hearts, that it would compel them to want to appreciate Michigan more, take better care of Michigan, come here more often, really, truly appreciate what it is that we have in this state.
Great. Well, it's been a fun year. Can't wait till the next project.
Me neither.